to play. I thought my memories would end. One train over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, would have kept me from the one I had today. I took a walk one street over from my home, cracked and broken asphalt everywhere. I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, would have kept me from the one I love today. One street over there's a life I could have.
On social media, I get so many comments. It's like, y'all sit there and talk for a whole minute and we don't know what you're saying, and we see you talking. One of these days somebody is going to be reading lips and they're going to be like, here's what LaVern said, and it, well, I mean, it's all stuff that you can hear. It's just it's not the topic of conversation for the day, and maybe I'm visiting with a friend and saying, okay, hey, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. Oh, no, there it goes. Let me turn off the music. There we go. Anyway, Sarah is in the house, and I always okay, I'm going to try it. Sarah Ricciardi?
Yes.
Did I do it right?
Perfect. That was perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's like some names, it just takes me a while to get them down. Althea Sickles, one of them, and she knows. I called her everything. I called her so many. I was like, how do you say that? She was just like, it's Althea. you know Althea?
No.
She is. I'm on the recovery court board, and she is one of the.
Okay.
She's one of the one of the rock stars over at the recovery court. Oh, by the way, there's a recovery court graduation next Thursday, and so if you've never been to a recovery court graduation and you want to just come and cheer on these absolute heroes that have fulfilled the program and gotten through it on the other side, it's just so exciting to see them just celebrate that. And so my wonderful principal allows me to step away from the classroom since I'm on the board, to do that every year. We do it twice a year. And it gives me an opportunity to tell the kids, hey, I'm not going to be here because I'm on the recovery court board and I'm going to support these people in graduation. And it just kind of goes, oh, and it lets them know there are avenues, because so many of their lives are touched by it in some capacity, some aspect, like a parent or a relative or a friend. We did a thing on, we did a documentary, The Evolution of Drugs. I thought it just turned out so powerful. It's something the kids, put together, and it was their idea. And we have a principal at school that's brother, our vice principal, Larry Staggs, his brother is in prison, and it's his twin. And he was so honest and real about that. And it just really, and then we put out a little survey with some of the classes about, have you had any experience, and one of the kids told us about their addiction and how they were now 2 years sober, and they had become addicted in junior high.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they were anonymous, but they revealed themselves to me later on. And I was like, man, that's awesome. And I gave them, because I work with Celebrate Recovery, and I gave this person coins to represent that. I was like, you need to have this tangible thing, because you've done this completely on her own. I just said I didn't intend to say gender, but it was a female. But anyway, nonetheless, how are you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing great. How are
Welcome.
you?
I'm doing
Thank
fabulous.
you.
So,
So you piqued my interest. I have to take a note on that documentary. When did you all do it?
oh my goodness, it was our first year. I guess we didn't really release it until middle of last year because it's one of those things. When we first started the class, we did. We thought we were going to do documentaries. We tried to do one on Bigfoot, and we just never could make it come together properly. And I've still got some footage I need to give to Mr. Blue, just beautiful footage, but it just never worked. But this evolution of drugs, we started my first year there, so that would have been in 21, and we released it last year.
Oh, wow.
I think.
Yeah.
And so, I'll send you a link
Yes,
to it.
please. Yeah.
And we did what sparked it, honestly and truthfully. It's kind of, it's a little embarrassing. I had decided I was going to take some of my students to one of the recovery court graduations. Well, typically we're done in time to get them back for the bus. This time, one of the speakers just was super long, and I had to get them back for the bus. I had to leave.
Yeah.
Well, it was the day that they honored me as as a champion for recovery and gave me a plaque. I didn't know that was happening. And then I had to get up in the middle of the remembrance ceremony and leave with my kids. And it was just awful.
Oh, no.
And that still just makes me just cringe when I think about, because we just didn't have any choice, because we had because of buses and stuff, we just didn't have any choice. And I was just mortified. But it sparked an idea when I was talking to the kids about it, because I said, I wanted y'all there to see that remembrance ceremony and the faces that look just like your aunts and your uncles and your cousins and your brothers and your sisters and your moms. It look like could be anybody, your teacher. You just think, it could be anybody that had lost the battle to drugs. And that's powerful moment that I wanted them to see was interrupted because we had to leave. And I was just so mortified. But it sparked the idea that we needed to do that at school. And we put together a remembrance ceremony, and it was so powerful. So and Althea came in and presented it, and she just did such an amazing job. And that's the close of this documentary. And it was so good. And we've talked about, and we've intended to do it again, not just at Greenbrier, but at other schools. And we just haven't been able to put it together. There's just been things in the way. And so we had thought we were going to do it this spring, and we have just not been able to get it together. But it's going to happen again, because the kids who have seen it have said, I know somebody. So what I'm hoping is when maybe even before the end of the year, we'll kind of push it back out and remind the kids when we come back together in the fall, and not wait till spring. Spring is just too busy with proms and graduations and all the things. We thought that we could make it where it's just too busy, unless we did it truly in the winter. But then you have snow and all the things and storms, and it's just, you have these interruptions of your days that you just can't get things done. Yeah. And so I feel like we don't need to put it off. We need to hit it right out of the gate coming in the fall, like we did last time, because we did it in the fall, and prepare the kids and say, number one, we want you to think about this as you head into your summer. Please be careful with what you do. Every, just that reminder. And then to say, this fall, we're going to do this again. Because Dr. Causey was still our director of schools when we pushed that out. It was right before Dr. Weeks joined us. And Dr. Causey wanted us to do them in every school. And I don't know if I've shown it to Dr. Weeks or not, but I feel like he would be on board too, because he's such a sweet man. I think he would have exactly the same reaction that Dr. Causey did. And it's something just to remind kids, there are real faces behind addiction. And so many of them know that because they've lost somebody. But there are kids out there that have never truly been touched by it, and somebody offers them something and they're like, oh yeah, it's not all full of that. That's a lie. It's not full of fentanyl. It's not going to kill me. And then they get one chance and they're dead. And it happens. And so nonetheless, but yeah, that's that thing. And so I don't know how I got off on this, Sarah. We were talking.
I love the idea. I mean,
but
and the recovery court. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't last ceremony, didn't they have a proposal that happened
Oh, yeah.
during it.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I loved that
I've got
story. 'Cause
video of
we got
that.
to-
Did y'all do
yeah,
something with
We
that?
got to feature a little blurb. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
good. And yeah, I just,
Mhm.
I love to follow the trail, how my mind works. We
Mhm.
got off on this because I was saying how I'm trying to make sure I pronounce Ricciardi
Yes.
properly. And I was talking
Yes.
about Althea, and then we got
Uh-huh.
talking about Althea and recovery court. And there you go.
Yep.
It's always kind of fun to follow the trail.
It is.
You
Yeah.
go, how the mind works. But anyway,
Yep.
especially
Yeah.
my crazy,
Keeps it-
distracted brain.
Yeah, it keeps it interesting.
Oh, anyway.
I love it.
So,
Yeah.
staypositive.news. That's what we're talking about today. And love what you guys are doing. And we were just talking, before we turn the mics on, talking about building a following for good stuff and how you do that, because this is good stuff. And you guys just trying to push it out to make sure more people know about it. So that's what we're doing here, is once a month just going, have you looked at the positive news? Because if you look at all the negative news, it's just poison to your soul.
It is.
I know we have to
Yeah.
stay aware. We have to be involved. We have to be part of the solution, but you don't have to live in it.
Right.
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
it's like, and be aware, know
Right.
what's going on, but then live in the places that gives us a hint of what we're going to when we leave here. And that's
Mhm.
bringing heaven down to earth, right?
Yeah. If I
So-
dwell on, even my TV, LaVern,
Oh,
I
yeah.
stream everything, right? So I don't have like a legit
Yeah, me either.
station.
Yeah.
But when you pull it up, they have all these ads now. And if you've noticed, all the ads lately are all the doom and gloom of
Yep.
current society, right?
Yep.
And so I get so frustrated. I just,
Yeah.
go past them right away. But because of that, so we're constantly, even if you're really being intentional, we're constantly being bombarded
Mhm.
with the negative. And what happens to my stress level? I mean, it immediately skyrockets.
Oh, yeah.
I feel it. And part of, I love Jesus, right? Part of surrendering everything to him, I have to put that stuff away and tell
Amen.
him to because he will handle it.
Yeah.
He will handle it, but that's part of my personal journey. So that's why I love what Stay Positive News does. And yeah, we really want to just build our followers. Now we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, of course, our website too. And you can subscribe to the website. If you go to staypositive.news, you can hit that subscribe button. We do a weekly recap, so you can get it sent to your email and you get the news recap for the week,
Okay.
which is really great. And sharing it. So just sharing it with your friends and your family.
Okay.
It's
And
super
I
powerful.
haven't subscribed to the website, so I need to do that, and I'll do that like right now so I don't forget about it. But that's just so key, and it's so interesting you're talking about that you have to go through the clutter of the bad news because they know we're turning it off.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
know we're shutting it down.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to figure out different ways
Mhm.
to get that message to us. And like you said, and then they're trying to get the clicks. And
Right.
we had a track meet last night in Charlotte, and I had one of my students rode with me to the track meet, one of the girls, Emmy. And we were talking about, she was trying to change the kind of music she listens to.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm trying to listen to more Christian contemporary stuff. And we were talking about Brandon Lake and how much we love him and all that. Because I just love Brandon Lake and Jelly Roll and all those guys. And she mentioned an artist I didn't know, but we were talking, and I said something about, I said, well, what radio station do you listen to? She goes, I don't. I'm so shocked. But
Right.
that's what's happening
Right.
is this generation coming now, they don't have a clue what radio is.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't. It's like when we have our broadcast that we do with the newscast, and we're WGHS News, and that I have to explain to them the call letters and all. They just don't. I'm like, what are the call letters in Nashville? They don't know.
Right.
They don't know that you've got WTVF, WKRN, WSMV, WLAC, all those things,
Yeah.
and they don't understand the because I wonder how long they're going to last. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of, and I'm on public airways right now. We pray that they never go away.
Right.
That's the prayer,
Right.
because we that's something that if we were to get to where we could not push information out via the web, you're going to want this. So you want to keep an aspect of that terrestrial signal that can just be broadcast without the need of satellites and those kinds of things. Terrestrial meaning earthbound antenna. That's what we're talking about. So you want those signals to be able to get out there, because you got to be able to communicate. So you hope you can preserve it, but in the same sense, kids aren't listening to it.
Right.
They're not listening.
Right.
They're podcasting. If they've got something, if they're political and they want to listen, they're tuning into the podcast. They're not listening to, the Rush Limbaughs, the Glenn Becks, the different, Sean Hannity's and whoever else is the big network people right now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so y'all are on to
Era.
something. So I'm saying you've got people are selecting their news, and so why not select positive stuff?
Yes.
I
And
remember,
local. It's local too,
Yeah.
which means you feel connected to your
Mhm.
community, right? Which
Yeah.
is important. Have you noticed the uptick in the type of movies that are popular now in TV?
Yes.
Right? So people are
Mhm.
hungry for
It's
positive.
kind of like The Chosen kind of made them go,
Uh-huh.
oh, you mean
Yeah.
you want us to hear about Jesus?
I know.
you
You want some good, clean stuff? What?
Yeah. Or dry bar comedy.
Yes.
Dry bar
Yes.
comedy has revived.
Yes.
I love comedians. Absolutely adore good comedians. Lucille Ball and Shonda
Mhm.
Pierce. I love the comedian Carol Burnett. All those
Yes,
good
yes.
Tim Conway.
Yes.
All those that we grew up with that did not offend you.
Mhm.
And I have been disgusted by the comedy that came up. And honestly, George Carlin was one of the first ones. Pryor. What was his first name?
Oh, Richard.
Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
I mean, they were vile.
Mm-hmm.
Cheech and Chong, all those guys, and they're like, "Oh, they're so funny." They're vile,
Yeah.
and you don't need to poison yourself with that stuff, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I finally, and I listened to it whenever I was younger because I was like, you just kind of listen, Pat. You just like, oh, I'm not. It's not affecting me. Well, it was.
Yeah.
And when I got to that place where I'm like, I got to turn this mess off, I missed it. And I missed it.
Comedy, yeah.
And
it's
so
fun.
when dry bar comedy came along, and I was like, what a breath of fresh air.
Mhm.
And to be able to hear that from them, and I'm not saying I still listen to stuff I'm sure I don't need to listen to. I wish they would filter it and all that kind of stuff. And there's still some sitcoms and stuff that I'm like, why did you even have that content in there? It was not
Right.
necessary, those kinds of things.
Mhm.
But there's also a thing called VidAngel that you can filter
Mm-hmm.
television.
Yeah.
And so I filter stuff. And there's some shows that I really enjoy that I will not watch if they won't filter
Mm-hmm.
because they're so offensive.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the actors. It's, those kinds of things.
Yes,
And
I
maybe
know.
I shouldn't even do that, but I don't know. But it's a struggle we all have
Right.
trying to say we want better content. And the people who produce content, they're seeing it.
Yes, they are. Because you see
They're
it when
seeing
you
it.
turn on any of the streaming platforms,
Yeah.
right? You're seeing what they're promoting now is different than what they
You
used
better
to.
believe it.
So yeah, it's exciting, I think. So people are hungry for it, like
Yeah.
you said, and that's why we want to continue to be part of the conversation. And
Right.
can I share exciting news?
Go right ahead.
know
That's
that
what
I
gets
shared
y'all's
it.
hour, and we're like all over the place, but that's how we do.
So in last June is when I stepped in as creative director,
Right.
And
Right.
then February 14th is Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I signed on as co-owner with Rachel and Donnie. So I'm
Right.
super excited about that and moving forward. And so I'm going to have a little article that'll come out the end of the week and kind of explain the genesis of
Okay.
all of that. But part of it is, we can either shrink back from the conversation because we're so fed up with the negativity, and I don't blame anybody for just wanting to
Yeah.
hide away from it.
Yep.
But that only increases the amount of negativity in the conversation, right? If we don't become
Don't
part of
engage.
it.
Yeah.
So the challenge really is to join the conversation, but join it from that positive platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're excited about doing.
I'm very excited for you. And and it's like as I pull up the stories, if you go to staypositive.news, you'll see the things that pop up. And again, it's all just wonderful, positive stories that are happening around. And I mean, things that I didn't know about, that the White House has a freestanding ER that they're putting in,
Yes.
I'm just,
Yeah.
reading some of this, and this little kid, this little 5-year-old that's dealt with cancer and radiation. And all of us have that prayer list of little ones that are facing that kind of stuff. And just to see these kids conquer, and it's so inspiring. And I'm seeing the recovery for all the storms and all those things. And of course, Miss Mabel's there. But before I move on past the storms, I saw that Rachel and them had some damage.
Yes,
from the
they
storm.
did.
How are they doing?
did. They're safe and they're fine, but they moved into that house and they're
know.
remodeling it, right? And so it's been a mess,
Oh,
but
bless them.
very thankful. They had our friends at the barn store were out within like 30 minutes and helping them. And so they
Yeah.
were taken care of super fast.
Okay, wonderful. Because I saw pictures and I was like, oh no.
I
Because
know.
bless their hearts, they were moving and just,
I
it's
know.
like, ah.
Well, and her
What in the
car
world?
got hit by
I
the.
know. I saw that. I was like, I recognize that car.
I know. I know.
Oh, I
It's
hated it.
just,
I
Yeah.
hated it. Bless their
One
hearts.
thing
Yeah.
to the next,
Yeah,
right?
we're praying for you,
But,
Rachel. God
yes.
bless you. My
Yeah,
goodness.
we miss you. We
Yes,
miss
absolutely.
You. She'll
Rachel,
be back.
well, and y'all can both come in together or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
think we just need to have a party in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, she will. She will. When
I wasn't expecting her this
got
week for
crazy.
sure.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that storm, I was like, I bet Sarah's coming in. You know, and I think we may have even prearranged
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
it's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, is there one story that you just want to make sure people don't miss that's on there right now?
Well, I think so. In the month of March, we did a bunch of different profiles on women in our community, and I would just invite people to scroll through and look at those because to me, it's encouraging. You know, when you see women, I call them women of excellence. They're women of integrity,
Right.
and they're all different backgrounds and ages. And you get to hear a piece of their story. It's just kind of encouraging. So I would definitely scroll through and look at those because, again, it helps you feel connected to your community even more so. But coming up, we have some that I would love to give a teaser for, if
Sure,
that's
sure.
okay. So
Yes.
maybe people have seen the dancing cop on Facebook. Have you seen this?
Where are they? Where is he? Where is he?
So he is down in Gallatin.
Okay,
And
I've
I'm going to
missed
mix
that.
up my
I've
cities
missed
now.
that.
He's down in Gallatin, and he is a patrolman, but he does he's a crossing guard as well,
Okay.
right? And so you could probably Google it because people
Okay.
have been posting videos. I don't know, but he is a fascinating individual. And the thing I love, because when we reached out, people have been posting about it. I think Channel 5 did a little blurb on him.
Uh-huh.
The whole focus was that he was turning being a crossing guard into something fun and entertaining.
Uh-huh.
But when I had the honor to be able to interview him, I heard more of his story, LaVern, right? And you would love it. You would love his story because everything, you know, it's not as superficial as dancing on the street,
Yeah.
right?
There's a reason he's
There
doing
is
what
a
he's doing.
reason. There is more to it, and I can't wait to share more about that because again, it's going to encourage more people.
Right. I
So
love it.
yeah, we're excited about the dancing cop,
I
and
love it.
yeah, super
I'm
excited.
Googling. I'm seeing if I can find.
Yeah, I'm not.
See what I can
yeah,
find.
He's sent me some Facebook.
Yeah, I'm sure I can
Stuff.
find it here in just a minute. That's very cool.
Yeah,
Dancing cop police officer to dance. I'm not sure if that's the right one or not. Something you have to-
Lauderdale. Lauderdale is his last name.
Lauderdale.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll find him.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is an old one. But it's so funny. My husband will say, "Look at this on social media," and he'll read something, and I'm like, "Look at the year."
I know.
Yeah,
I
you know, I'm like, "Look at
I
the
know.
year," because it'll sound funny. And he's like, "All the animals are leaving Yellowstone." I'm like, "No, they're not.
I know,
No, they're
I
not."
know.
I said that one comes up. Every couple of years, you know, all the bears on the road and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, no.
know.
Maybe do a Google
do,
search on
yes.
Snopes on that one. But anyway, I'm sorry, I
do.
digress.
You
But you have
do.
to
You have to
check
watch
the. Well,
it.
the first I put Dancing Cop and I got 2016. I'm like, well, that's not the right one.
Yeah, that's not the right one.
Well, I
No,
look
yeah.
forward to that. That sounds great. And you're just teasing it. So, what's the
Yeah.
backstory?
I know.
That's why I tell people when they come in. People will go, "You want me to come in and we're going to talk for an hour?" And I'm like, "I want to talk to you like we're on the porch. I want to get your backstory."
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
that's the thing. We like the backstory, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing the backstory of the
Yes.
dancing police officer. And you know what? While we're on that subject, tell people a little bit about who you are and why you're involved with StayPositive.news and your ministry background, if you don't mind, real quick.
Yeah. So my name is Sarah Ricciardi, and my husband Jason and I moved here about 11 years ago now. Believe it or
Wow.
not, I know this is the longest we've been anywhere. So this is home. We moved here. He is a student pastor for Temple Baptist Church on Marlin Road in White House.
Mhm.
So that's what brought us here. And then I quickly dove into the community, joined the chamber, wanted to meet everybody I could. I'm very introverted, LaVern, so that was an adventure.
No, I tell people
Yeah.
the same thing about me. And they're like, "No, you're not." I'm
Yeah.
like, "You don't know how I am at my soul.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
At my soul, I
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
At my soul, I just want to kind of stay by myself.
In my sweatpants.
You know,
No.
yeah. I'm just kind of like, leave me alone.
Yep.
But I get
So,
that. So
yeah.
where are you from originally?
So I was raised in Bowling Green, Kentucky, so just
Okay.
over the border.
Okay.
My parents and family are from the north, so Minnesota, Michigan. So
Sure.
I never had family around here, right? They're all
Right.
spread out all over the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, so moved down here. We have 2 girls, Zoe, who's 18. She's graduating in a few weeks,
White
right?
House Heritage?
No, White House.
White House.
Just White
Okay,
House.
just
Yeah.
like right there. That I knew it was
Uh-huh.
one or the other,
Uh-huh.
but
Yep.
so where's your husband from?
So he is from Texas
Okay.
and Colorado. He kind of was all over too.
Okay.
So yeah,
Interesting.
we met. Well, that's a whole story.
See, that's what we like. We like
That's
those
a whole
backstories.
story,
How did
yeah.
you get to where you are? You know, how did
Yeah.
you get to be this?
hmm
You know, there's always a backstory.
There is, yeah,
Always a backstory.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, well, very
For sure.
cool.
Yeah.
So, awesome. And
Yeah.
then you ended up. What was your? How did you become associated with StayPositive.news?
So Jamie Nixon posted when Stay Positive was just kind of beginning. So it was before there was even a website. He posted saying, "Are you passionate about writing and positivity or something like that?" And I
Right.
remember seeing that, and I was like, "Yes, okay,
Yeah.
yes."
Yes to both.
Yeah. And I knew Jamie and friends with his wife. So I just, yeah, can we talk? And he listened to my story, which I have a journalism background.
Okay.
And then I got disillusioned with journalism,
Easy
right?
to
And
do.
so I quickly
Easy to do.
just, I love telling stories, but I don't want to be told that I have to slant a story.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of left pursuing that and focused on writing. And then, of
Right.
course, God takes you everywhere else and you're doing all sorts of things. But so I joined as a writer when they started, and that was in June. It'll be 2 years ago this
Very
June.
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And
Yeah.
then you had an opportunity to buy in
Yeah.
and did that.
Yeah.
And that was her big announcement a while ago. And we've
Yeah.
talked about that. And I think Rachel and I discussed that last
Yeah.
visit that she
Yeah.
had with me. And so I knew it already.
Yay.
But
exciting.
but it's fun to talk about it and to kind of see just the way it's developing to push those stories out. And so I love I when I get on there and just I love reading these stories, and sometimes it's my neighbors or somebody that I'm like, oh, I know them, that's great.
Yeah.
And that's always a lot of fun just to hear those backstories. But now you mentioned the dancing cop. Is there another one coming up that you've got?
So
that you-
there's a student at a local high school who actually saved somebody's life. And so
okay.
you might have heard that. I think Channel 5 may have covered that.
Right.
We're going to go a little deeper with it.
Okay.
That's what we get the privilege of doing, right? We
Right.
have a little bit more space
Was
to
it
do
at
that.
the Y?
It was, well, she's a student at the new school, the new high school.
Okay.
LaVern, I need coffee.
Oh, listen, please. I
The big
feel
one, the big high school that's brand new and fancy. Sumner County.
in Sumner County. Oh, you're talking. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, but I can't think of the name of it either. But I'm just loving that you're not the only one that can't recall names, because this morning, while I was saying my prayers, somebody that I pray for pretty much every day could not remember the name.
Yeah, I know.
What was the name? Of
I
that
know,
Lord? Is
yeah.
this somebody that's been,
Uh-huh.
kind of one of those things? And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, who was it?
I know.
Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? That
I
what they tell me as we get, because I'm 62. Yesterday I was calling the kids all the wrong names, and they just kind of kept looking at me. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, I'm
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe I'm getting a little worried about myself. But I had it explained to me one time. They said, if you don't realize you're forgetting things, that's when you have a problem. If you know you're forgetting
love
things,
it.
you're
Yeah,
just
you're good.
normal.
You're good.
You're just normal. You're just busy.
You got
know?
all the things
Yeah.
coming in your brain at the same time.
Well,
Yeah.
because I had my mother, she passed away at 84, and so people are always telling her, I think you're slipping, because they tell that to older people a lot.
Mhm.
People will tell them that, and I told her that, and she's like, well, that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
that just gave
does.
her complete peace.
Good.
She goes,
Oh.
the minute she goes, if I ever get to that place, LaVern, where I don't realize I'm forgetting, let me know so I'll know that I really am slipping. I'm like, you got it, Mom.
Write it on a post-it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. it makes
Anyway,
total
so-
sense.
As long as you know you're forgetting something, you're just
Yep.
fine. You're normal. But that's a great story. And I have seen something about that. And
Mhm.
I love that because my husband does. I was a lifeguard. I was a deep water
Yeah.
lifeguard in college. I mean, trained to do ocean
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
deep water stuff.
Yeah.
And I was very proud of that. I was a really strong swimmer, man. I could pull you out. I don't care how hard you
Yeah.
fought me. I could pull you out of that water. And of course now, probably not, because I just don't have the strength I had back then. But I still wish I had maintained my certifications to do CPR and do basic rescue, because I think I could do it,
Yeah.
but I haven't had, I need a refresher.
Yeah.
And my husband stays up to date on that because he has his degrees are all in criminal justice and security, safety, and emergency management and all those things. So he's very diligent about staying up on that and is trying to get certified where he can train, because he's like, I would love, because being in a position at high school as a criminal justice teacher, he goes, I'd love to have a section where we get these kids certified in CPR, because you never know.
Yes.
You never know.
Yes.
So that's one of his goals, is to get certified to where he can certify his kiddos that he's got in class. Because what if they're in this situation?
Right.
Because I think this young person
Liberty
was
Creek. That's the name of the
there
school.
you go. You got it. I still
Okay.
haven't recalled the names I was supposed to be
Yeah.
praying for, though. So maybe God knows.
Yeah,
I'm
he
like,
does.
you know what I'm talking about, Lord. Anyway, but
Yeah.
what is the was she a lifeguard?
I
Or was
haven't
she
even.
I'm wanting to say she
haven't
was
looked at
trained in
Chris's.
nursing.
Well, she
Because I heard bits
think,
and pieces
yeah,
of it, and I
'cause
can't
she
remember.
did CPR on. I thought it was at the school, but maybe it was not.
And it may be
Yeah.
another story.
Yeah, yeah.
know.
And Chris wrote it, so I'm super excited
Okay.
to dig into
Well, I'll
it.
go talk to Mr.
You
V,
know, Mr. V. Yeah,
Mr. V,
Yeah. Super.
my
excited.
co-teacher at Greenbrier. I love him.
Yep.
Plays- I keep teasing him. I'm like, when he told me, he goes, I love what you and Mark are doing, retiring into teaching. I want to do that. And then he told me he's doing English. I'm like, but that's an EOC tested subject,
Oh.
Chris. Oh,
Yeah. Now
that's
it's hard, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
This
God
time of
bless
year,
it.
too.
I have a project-based class. We do videos. My kids, you all see some of the stuff they've produced over the last couple of weeks. It's hysterical. But it's fun, that
Right.
kind of stuff. It's not write a term paper.
Yeah.
That's hard, Chris, but God bless him for doing it. He's
Yes.
doing great too.
Yes. Yeah.
So he wrote
Loves
this
it.
story.
Yes, he
Very
did. So
good.
yeah, super excited. It'll come out next week.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And we did have, so in Springfield, have you heard of the Tennessee Rhythm Youth Dance Team? They're a
I
bluegrass.
have.
Okay, well, we did an
Yes.
article on them last week. I think it was Monday that it came
They're
out.
awesome.
They are amazing. They got to dance on the Opry stage.
That does not surprise. I did not
Yeah.
know they were on the Opry.
They
but
got
I'm not
invited, so
surprised.
they were undefeated all of last season.
Wow.
And so it earned them an invitation. Had some great pictures.
cool.
Yeah, the everything. So yeah, you'll have to check that one out because you might know some of the.
I bet I
some of the
would. I bet
kiddos.
some of those kids will show up at the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival
Yes. Ooh.
coming up on the 16th and 17th of May.
Mm-hmm.
So, because
Yeah.
we have the night before, we have the 16th and 17th. Friday is the fiddle competition.
Oh,
The
fun.
Dan Kelly Memorial Fiddle Competition. But when you say fiddle competition, it is fiddle, banjo, guitar. They have a clogging. It's just fiddle competition is just kind of and that was what that was his thing.
Okay.
And so, but we have that on Friday night, and then followed by the competition with the kiddos. Then we have a big old square dance
Oh,
in the barn, because it's a
Aw.
renovated tobacco barn. And so
nice.
there's been have you ever been to the Kilgore Festival?
No.
Oh, you need to go.
I
It's
do.
at
When is
East
it
Robert.
again?
It's okay if you go to East Robertson High School.
Yeah.
Go back in behind it, Kilgore Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been there.
And then if you go back into the park, it goes down into like a valley. And the
Mhm.
tobacco barn sits right on the creek. It's just
Mhm.
picturesque and just stunning. And it's
Oh,
set up,
wow.
the acoustics of that valley, that little valley.
Yes. Oh,
is-
yeah. That'd be perfect.
It's set up kind of like the Ryman.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got that kind of pitch, and it's like that
Mhm.
amphitheater kind of feel. And to hear that music just kind of coming up that holla, it's just wonderful. And it's just the sweetest little festival. And I mean, and it's not huge yet, but I think it has every potential to be. The fiddle competition has every potential to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
As more people know about it, it's just getting that
Mhm.
message out.
Yep.
But we're probably in our 11th or 12th year,
Oh, wow.
I think.
Yeah.
And but the kiddos, I'm thinking they're going to be there.
Oh,
the ones you
yeah. I
just
would
mentioned.
hope. Yeah.
I would think they're going to
would-
be there dancing.
Yeah.
But we have just the most talented kids, and
Mhm.
it's just so much fun to watch them. And then we have just amazing bands then all day on Saturday.
Oh, how
So
neat.
it's just it's wonderful. But yeah,
Yeah.
y'all need to do
Yeah.
a story on
Yes,
the
we do.
Kilgore Festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I have to take notes every time we talk.
Yeah,
have
because we
some
was like,
great-
oh, we got
have
this,
some
we got
great
this, we got
ones.
this, we got this, we got
Yep.
this. So, very good. Well, I'm gonna give you another one too right
Yes.
now. This is so funny. Okay, so Aiden Raymer is a kiddo that was the musician of the month last fall at WKRN. He's an amazing guitar player. The reason I know he's so talented is because he goes to Mr. Perry's
Yeah.
up here in Springfield, and has been in the bands. Well, Mr. Perry is my guitar teacher when I go. I haven't had a lesson in forever, guitar or mandolin. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I just haven't had time. But Perry Myers. And so I knew that he was a guitar player. And so I went to one of the shows that they did, and I was showing some of the teachers. I said, look at this. Did y'all know Aiden could do this? And Mr. Staggs, our principal, one of our vice principals, he said, we need to enter him in the Musician of the Month. Yeah. And I was like, that's a great idea. So we did, and we didn't hear anything for months, and then they picked him. Well, now the same young man, he's very smart. And so he has been selected as a potential student of the week at the Tennessean for esports, STEM, and robotics.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So here's how it works, guys. You go on to the Tennessean competition and you vote for Aiden. You can vote. We figured out you can vote 25 times per server. And so we're like all just slamming it, you know. And of course the other schools are too with their students, because there's some students at other schools. And it's so funny because this got to be a thing yesterday. It's like, how many times have you voted? How many times have you voted? And so we're just like slamming it, trying to make sure Aiden gets it. But anyway, he would be a good one to do a little story on, because he's got like he's going to get so embarrassing. Like, Miss Vivio, stop it. You know, because
he's
very humble.
Going on with
he's very humble, but he's
an
amazing musician, and he's very talented in engineering. He just wants to do all the things. Yeah. And he's been one of my audio video students. He's very gifted in editing. He's just very talented, just all the way around. But so once we get this, we're going to win this thing.
Yes,
he was just yesterday. We were all talking. He was just doing this. He was just doing this. He was just laughing. But very humble young man. But I get so tickled. But that's going to be the thing probably for the next couple of days in a couple of schools, is every free minute they've got. Oh, okay, I'm out of time, but go to this one, this one, you know, and we're just, it's kind of a school competition, that school rivalry. We're like, we want to win. Yes. Go Aiden. So anyway, but that's really fun. And Luke White Coach White got that started yesterday in his engineering class. And the next thing we know, he's like, can you put this in the news? So it's in the news today. The QR code, the code. If you go to Greenbrier High School and look at our newscast for today, there's a QR code you can follow that will show you where to go and vote for Aiden Raymer. So, and vote like 25 times per browser. We figured that out. Anyway, he'd be a good one. He'd be a good one to do a story on. Yeah. But I've got another idea for a story, but I'm not going to tell you about her on mic because I don't have permission at all to share her story. But before she graduates, somebody needs to tell her story. But I'll tell you about that often. Remind me.
Yes.
Remind me when we get off mic here to tell you that, because it's a story that I want to tell on our little newscast for Greenbrier, but I haven't had a chance to, because I don't really know her. But I'm like, man, you don't need to get out of here before we hear a little more about you. Yes. And because she's amazing. And I'll tell you another story up in Greenbrier. You've got Jack Martin, who is the Irishman that he immigrated because of the Troubles. You know, he was threats to his family. Yeah. And has been at that Greenbrier Church of Christ ever since. He just came out with a book that's about to be released on his life story about leaving. People that don't understand what was going on with the Troubles in Ireland. Yeah. I mean, that was I remember vividly bombs going off between the Protestants and the Catholics in Ireland, and you think, what in the world? I can remember there was actually, and when the Berlin Wall fell, I remember all those things, right? I remember there was a MacGyver, the original MacGyver did episodes on that. So if you want, I mean, that would be a interesting way. I may show that to my AV class, because those are old. That's old television that you could look at the way it was done, but it's also a little bit of history that I don't think they hear enough about, that there was a wall, you know, tear down that wall. And there was also this battle between the Protestants and Catholics that killed so many people, and it was just horrible. And that's what brought his family to America. And so that story, we're going to try to have him on radio. He's supposed to be on this week, but he's got to go do a wedding. So I'm going to try to reschedule it to where I can have him on one day next week as the book's getting ready to come out. But it's going to be a powerful story. So that would be another good one for you. See, I'm giving you all these story ideas.
I know.
So I need to find you some writers too, right?
Oh yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
So, but anyway, what else do you? I tell you what. Let me pause. It's already 20 till, Sarah. Okay, let me do a break, and
Yeah.
then we'll come back, and then I'm going to just shut up and let you hit everything you need to hit, because I know you probably have a list,
We're good.
and we've just been all over the place. But I love shows like that. That entertains my brain, and I think there's people out there that they like to go kind of all over the place.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe not. My husband sometimes he goes. Man, he goes, you were just so scattered today. And I was like, but did you know what I talked about? Well, yeah, you talked about this, this, and this, and this. And I said, really? I talked about that? He's like, you did. It's always fun. Always fun. Always fun, too, to talk about my friends Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty, talking about the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival. It's always tied to them because that's where I met them. I got recruited to be the host out there. Just such an honor that they reached out to me. But that's where I met Barry and Rebecca. Barry was one of the first people I met because he was at the time a vice president of a media marketing company in Nashville. He was for 17 years before he went full time in real estate. And so he comes up to me with cameras and all this kind of, and I'm like, my people. I knew right now, and he was like, "Okay, here's your mic, here's this, and all this." And so he was the one who showed me everything I needed to do, and it was so obvious he knew what he was doing. And so I was like, cool. And so we became friends just because of that. And then I met his sweet bride, Rebecca, and she's already in real estate, and she was one of the founding sponsors for the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival, and she had her tent set up and her table and all this. And I noticed Barry was a part of it too, but he was helping her. Well, he got bit by the real estate bug and went full time with real estate about 5 years ago. So he's the broker here in Springfield. She still has her agency office out in White House. That she went with Exit because when she went from radiology and being a mom and all those things, wanted to go full time with real estate, she looked for a company that checked all the boxes. That's what she's told me many times, and she says Exit did. And she has never looked back. She's been a part of that company from the very start. And so they just brought you a new branch in the tree. Instead of being with the Garden Gate team, they're Exit Prime Realty. So if you want to find Barry and Rebecca, go either name, Exit Prime Realty. You'll find 2 independent sites, 2 independent Facebook pages. You'll find out about historical properties they've handled. You'll find out about pathways to be a realtor. They would love to mentor you. You'll find listings all over Robertson County because they specialize in Robertson County properties because they're cross-Planians. They've been there for 30 years, about as long as I've been here in Robertson County, so it's our home. But like me, they have a very diverse background, so they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky because, like myself and Sarah, they're originally from Kentucky. So anyway, they're just awesome people to work with. You will see them at the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival sitting across the table. You can sit down and just talk to them about all the things you're just kind of thinking about. But you don't have to wait to do that at a festival or something where you see them out. You can always just call them. They love to sit down over a cup of coffee, and maybe you're just thinking about doing something. Maybe you're thinking you want to buy the property next door, and is it for sale? I've heard it might be for sale. Can you check into those kinds of things? Or maybe I want to be a realtor. You can call Rebecca, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, or you can go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy BUY, RobertsonCounty.com. Always let them know you turned city. And another second hour of a local programming. Brother T. Rawls is going to be in for Lee Marie. I don't know why we have to go. We don't go T. Rawls. We go T. Rawls. We got to put a little on it. It's just got that right?
Yeah.
So Brother T. Rawls is coming in, and so you're going to have another full hour of local programming. So just sit tight. Yes, I see you. He's so funny. He's a delight. But the show's all yours. Talk to me about some of the things that you want to make sure you get covered before we finish our time together.
Yes. Yeah. Well, one of the things I did want to share, and it's related to Stay Positive News, I promise, but we took a spring break trip, and since Zoe, my oldest, is graduating, she wanted to go to D.C., so we went up to Washington, D.C. to do all of that, had a great trip. But what I wanted to share was when we look at conventional media, right, we can look at that, and even though I don't watch it all the time, I went to D.C. and I was a little nervous, LaVern, about the environment, right?
Yeah,
Like I was a little nervous about the environment.
Is that your first time?
Well, as an adult, I mean,
Gotcha.
like after college, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went up, I'll tell you what, it felt, I did not have any weird vibe at all. It actually felt unified, which is weird, because you wouldn't think that. Like there was not the negativity, that I thought. Even though we were all around, the Capitol, the White House, and all of that, people had different opinions, but they weren't hateful about it. And it was encouraging to me, and that reminder that really, don't just believe what people tell you, right? Don't just believe that. Don't be discouraged by that because yeah, people can have ulterior motives. It was encouraging, but while I was there, and I don't know if anybody knows this story, but I actually saw handiwork from a White House-based business in one of the Smithsonian museums. So, yeah.
Okay, so explain.
Yeah. So at the National Air and Space Museum,
Okay.
Tate Ornamental has actually been part of their they did like this whole new like renovation. Yeah, so I have pictures and
Did you have a story on it?
yes.
Yay!
I cannot wait
Love
to
Tate
share.
Ornamental.
I know, and it's beautiful.
So cool.
It's beautiful. So, walking around and I was just taking pictures of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that particular museum has done this huge renovation phase. So it's still not totally complete. It wasn't totally open, but yeah, have some great
Fun.
pictures. And it's just fun to think about a local
Yeah.
company that is in, DC in a Smithsonian.
I didn't even know about Tate Ornamental until because of my involvement with the CTE program. They took us for a professional development day to see some of the things so we can tell our kids about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I have pointed so many kids. I said, they're wanting to know that are not wanting to go to college.
Yes.
I said, go and apply at Tate Ornamental. I said, that would be a place I would work at
Yes.
immediately. I would love to work at Tate Ornamental.
Yes.
And of
Yes.
course, when I was younger, but because of that artsy kind of thing to it, and you're going to start out doing things. Probably you're like, well, I'd rather do that, but you got to work your way up. That was one thing the guy was telling us that was in charge there, and he said, encourage your kids. They want to come in here. You got to prove yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was so impressed with that company. Wow, the
Yes.
stuff they do,
Yes.
so cool.
And they're all over.
Oh, I
they're
know.
all over in terms of the
Just
work they've done.
elegant, high-end stuff
Yes.
that you're like, wow. I mean, just true
Yeah.
artisan,
Yeah.
true artisan work, and the toys they have that they play with, the
Yeah.
cutters and it's like, wow, it's so neat,
Yeah,
so neat.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
going to look forward to that story because I
Yeah.
really love that company. It's
Yeah.
a neat story.
Mm-hmm. It is,
Very
and
fun.
I'm excited.
You make me want to
excited
go to
about it.
Washington, and because I haven't been to Washington in years, and I absolutely love Washington.
Yeah,
That's a place
it
I've been several times, but I would love to go back.
Yeah, it was
So.
wonderful to see the history,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, just to be reminded that the atmosphere was not as controversial as
That's
you would
wonderful.
think. And we did public transit, we did all the things.
Fun.
We were in
fun.
the thick of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really fun. It was
I
really
bet.
fun.
I bet that was a blast.
Mm-hmm.
We actually talked about Washington and yesterday. I had a couple of kids one that had traveled to France through AFS, the
Mhm.
foreign exchange program,
Yeah.
and one young lady that was from Germany. And we were talking about the different academic requirements in other
Mhm.
countries, and one of them happened to be cursive writing. And we were talking about how we've lost the art of cursive writing in America. And I said, and the terrible part of that is they can't read our founding documents.
Oh, right.
Because when you go
Right.
into the Smithsonian and different places and you go in the archives and you look at those founding documents, it's like, well,
Yeah.
what kind of language?
Yeah.
Cursive,
Yeah.
and it's very, very good, very fancy, pretty
Yes.
cursive, and in the King's language,
Yeah.
in the King's English,
Yeah.
and so it's,
Yeah.
you better know something about history. You can't read your
Mhm.
founding documents. And
Yeah.
so it's fascinating, but nonetheless, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
How
it
cool.
was.
Oh, I'll look
Yeah, it
forward
was
to that
cool.
story.
Yeah.
What else have we got before
Yeah.
we run out of time? We got 10
So,
minutes.
Yeah, well, I want to just tag on what you kind of talked about with students having something to look forward to after graduation, right? If they're not
Mhm.
wanting to go into a traditional degree
Right.
path, and just kind of encouraging that because so many of the stories we've done in the past are around those fields. One of my favorites that I did a year ago was about a man who happened to be at an install job and ended up saving somebody's life because he
Wow.
was there with him when an accident occurred. And so, that's just one of those stories where a normal everyday
Normal,
person
everyday person saved a
stepped
life.
in,
Yeah.
and saved a life. And it's just one of those things. So,
We all need to know CPR. Staying alive,
yes.
staying alive.
Yes.
That's the beat. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's good.
this. I mean, that's like that beat is the beat
Yep.
that you're supposed to do
Yep.
CPR to. But anyway,
That's the tip
I
for
don't-
the day. I love
yeah.
that.
there you go. That's free.
I know.
So
I know.
anyway,
Yeah, but they had going back to the Smithsonian, they had a piece of the Berlin Wall. They have that there.
yeah.
And so when you were talking about that, because I was alive when that happened, right? And I
Mhm.
remember that, but our kids
They had no
obviously
clue.
had no clue. And so it was so neat to kind of walk with them through that. And,
Mhm.
to just hear the stories and all of that was
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah,
So,
and it's
yeah.
just to see all that, anything that history that us older folks remember, and we were there
Yes.
like 9/11 and all those
Yes.
things, and you just we've got to tell the stories, because that's one of the things I catch whenever because I always do a thing on 9/11 with my
Mhm.
kiddos, and because of being in news at the time and being in broadcasting at the time, it was just
Mm.
that, and when the shuttle exploded are two things in my broadcast career that I will never forget, where I was in the moment that I was like, what?
Mhm.
That kind of thing. And so we always talk about it, but just the way they perceive it is just so bizarre to me,
Mm.
because they weren't
Mhm.
even born.
Right.
They weren't even born. And so I have to remember that, just like
Right.
how I am with Pearl Harbor, because I wasn't born.
Right.
And so
Right. It's
I
weird.
gotta, you gotta study that stuff. That's
Yeah.
very cool. But I love what StayPositive.news is doing to push those things out. And do you have anything else that you want to cover? I have a question before, if you don't, but I don't want to
Um,
get you off topic.
no, you
So
can add, I had something in the back of my brain and it's gone. So
maybe
go
it'll come
ahead.
back.
It might come back. Yeah.
Miss Mabel had a topic, and I haven't
Yes.
had a chance to read this, but it's talking
Yes.
about, and I think this is so. Miss Mabel's topics are always something you're like, that's interesting. And this is something I have been very blessed. I haven't had to struggle with this, but I've got a lot of friends who have had adult children
Mhm.
that just don't fly from the nest like they
Mhm.
should,
Mhm.
or they get into struggles. So a lot of the times it's because of addiction,
Yeah.
and you struggle. How much do I do? When am I enabling? When am I really helping?
Mhm.
That kind of stuff. That's what Miss Mabel's last article is about trying to figure out how much do you help your adult children,
Yeah.
you know. And so I thought, wow, what a great topic! What a great
Mhm.
topic. Do you happen to know the content of what she said?
Well,
'Cause,
I
I mean,
can
I don't
kind
want
of,
to put you
yeah.
on. I don't want to put you on
I
the
mean, I
spot
can't ever
because,
speak it like she can speak it, right?
yeah, but I sometimes she has, like I'm catching a line right here. I haven't
Yeah.
read this, but there's nothing wrong with spoiling them a little.
Yeah.
And we want them to have a better life than we did. The tricky part is where to draw the line, and I get
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
because we all want our children to have what we didn't have.
Yeah.
And there's parts of me very thankful I could not spoil my children any more than I did,
Mhm.
because I've seen the repercussions of that.
Right.
And I really, my kid, I'm so proud of my kids. You just don't want me talking about my boys, man. I'll just brag, because and it's not me. It's
Yeah.
what God
Yeah.
allowed us to be a part of and be a steward of and facilitate. And part of it was that we were not where we could spoil them to the degree that I mean, we just couldn't hand them everything. They had to
Right.
work for things. They had to have a work
Yeah.
ethic. They had to drive junk cars.
Yeah.
It builds character.
It does build character.
Builds
And there's,
character.
Zoe's getting ready to go to college, right? And
Yeah.
so to see her stepping up and she
Yeah.
pays for her own car and all, all this stuff,
Yep.
it does. It builds
Good job,
character
Mom,
within the
Dad.
safety of your home, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
they're still with you. To kind of sum up what Miss Babel said is she said you kind of have to let them struggle a little bit.
You gotta.
Just enough. And that's exactly right, right? Because you want them to do that in the safety net of your home.
Right.
I'd rather them do that than
Yeah.
be pushed out and
Exactly.
floundering.
And so much of it, it's just you have to be on your knees in prayer for it.
Yes.
Because there's things I look back on my kiddos and I'm like, and I wish my youngest one probably had to struggle through things more than any, because his dad was going through a health crisis at the time, and that's when I was working in Texas. When his senior
Yes.
year, going back and forth, but it was a job I had to take because my husband couldn't work. I mean, we just didn't have any choices. So he really had some struggles that the others didn't have to face. But my goodness, he's an electrical engineer down in Huntsville, Alabama, doing pretty good now.
Yep.
So I'm just saying,
Yep.
served him well. But nonetheless, at the time, it's hard, and I still look back and go, oh, but what? No, God's got him, and God's navigating his path. He's my one that struggles with his faith, and I could say, well, if I'd been, well, no, God has got it.
Yes.
And you just have to trust that. And that's the hardest thing to do with your children. I don't care if they're newborn to 50, 60 years old, because my mama would say that
Yeah.
about me.
Yep.
She was just like, LaVern, you just don't know. I worry about you just as much as I did when you were little. And you don't worry about them. You just give it to God. You have to. And that's the big thing. But I love Miss Mabel's.
Yeah.
Always good. Always good.
You're gonna want to check out her
Yeah.
on Monday too.
Oh,
because it's another good topic.
Always another. Well, it's always good. It's
Yeah.
always good. And again, sometimes it's not in the direction that I would think.
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, well, I hadn't thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
I know the one that really got me was, and Rachel really got me on this one too. It was talking about writing thank you notes.
Yeah.
Well, of course you should
Yes,
write
I
thank you
remember.
notes. And I'm like, I don't write thank you notes. And Rachel was like, are you kidding me? That's just wrong, LaVern. I was like,
I know.
I'm just the worst about writing thank you notes. And I've got several people
know.
I owe 10,
Yeah.
you know, and the Rainies, y'all are right at the top of the list, Paul Rainey. Because I mean, his bride just send the sweetest little notes all the time. I never send notes.
I know.
And I'm just awful. I know. My
Wow.
mother, she's like, you're not my daughter. You don't write notes. I'm like, I'm just so scattered, mother. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to do better.
No.
And I mean, that was a challenge to me, and I still haven't acted on it. But
Do you want me to check in next month? No.
yeah, see how I'm doing. Say, did you take
Yeah,
your
yeah.
advice, LaVern? So anyway,
Right.
anything else that you
Right.
want to cover? Did you remember that thing in the back of your
Yeah,
mind?
no, absolutely I didn't. But there's this awesome little picture at the end of every article, and it says, "Don't forget to like and share."
Yes.
So would love to just give that reminder. Don't forget
Yeah.
to do that, please, because the more views we get, the more followers we gain, the more we can spread the message that we're passionate about and that you are too.
Yes, I
So-
love that. I love that absolutely. And so always good stuff out there. Just anything that you see. That's a really good point to kind of end on. We're warming up for T-Raws coming in here to take on another full hour of local broadcasting. And when I say local too, remember this is a Christian broadcast company, worldwide Christian broadcast company, facilitated right out here of Springfield. And we cover the county and the edges of the surrounding counties terrestrially, but online you can hear it across the globe. And I listen to it when I'm down in Mexico, you know, and I'll listen to WDBL down in Mexico and introduce my friends down there
Oh,
to it because I
nice.
want them to hear that content. And they tap into network content, you know, things from Focus on the Family and all kinds of stuff that you can hear right here in good old gospel. We, you know, don't do the contemporary gospel because that's been taken care of in Nashville, those stations. What is a market that's not been taken care of is the good old gospel. And that's why they changed that format. And while I'm more of a contemporary person that I like, this is a market that wasn't hit. So it was a really good niche to fill. So good old gospel, guys, you can hear it, you know, 24/7 via the internet, but you can hear it right here locally from sun up to sundown. We have that terrestrial signal. So what Sarah said, when you see good content out there, like it and share it because that algorithm really affects. That's what Sarah and I was talking about, how to push something out that's a good message we want people to see, not because we want to go viral and all that. It's for him. We want him to go viral.
Yes.
We want the good to go viral. So how do we do that? So you can help do that by liking and sharing.
And if you have any community event too that's fun and free, we love to add it to our calendar.
Okay.
So please let us know that. And if you have something you think, oh my goodness, that made me smile, I think people need to know about it.
Right.
Let us know that too.
Yeah.
Let us
Some of
know
these
that too.
stories, people I was telling her about, you can do the same thing. And how can they get in touch with you? Let's finish there.
Sarah at staypositive.news.
One more time.
Sarah at staypositive.news. And that's Sarah with an H.
Very good. And also, like we said, go to staypositive.news, sign up for their update, follow them on social media, and just share their stories. You're going to be so glad you did.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Sarah.
Thank you.
And Sarah, I have to look at your name, Sarah Ricciardi.
Yes.
Oh, I'm getting
Perfect.
it.
Every
I
time.
have to make sure I say it right. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Stay tuned for Brother T. Rawls coming up for another full hour of local programming with The Ghost Show. He is standing in for Lee Marie here on 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a wonderful day.